Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Sports Hut podcast. And a week where the new Bond film comes out, the new instalment of FIFA comes out, we are back with another instalment of the podcast to enlighten you with the amazingness that is us. So, this weekend, another interesting weekend in football, particularly Scottish football. Some interesting results. We're going to start off with today's early kickoff at Pittodrie. Aberdeen 1, Celtic 2. The mythological and Angeball not appearing yet again. James, as a fan of Celtic, what was your take on the match?
Well, Angeball was successful. We won 2-1. We've stopped the away rot that we were in. Today's the day that we went away.
You're right in saying first time since Valentine's Day?
That's what I was hearing on the radio.
First time since Valentine's Day. But no, performance wasn't great, but we created two big chances and we took them both. We won the game. Hopefully that's this away rot ending. We will get picking up some form, and despite such a hectic start to the season, we're still only 2 wins away from top of the league. So I can't complain too much where we are just now. But saying that, Ralston and Montgomery should not be starting for Celtic.
Even though he set up the second goal.
So Juranovic, Julian, Taylor to come back in the team will improve defensively. We're still a couple of players short in squad depth, but first team we're looking pretty solid.
Yeah, obviously the first goal coming from Kyogo Furuhashi, James. It was like quick throw in, passed it to David Turnbull, and then he crossed into the box, and Furuhashi managed to get his chest in at the back of the net. That was a good goal, well taken.
Yeah, his job is finding space, and against Leverkusen, the problem was that we weren't getting the balls into him quick enough, so he had to make 3-4 runs. Today, Turnbull found them quickly.
There was also a lovely shot from Jota that hit the bar from about 25 yards out. Luckily for Aberdeen, it didn't go in.
He did that last week against Dundee United as well, so it looks like he's got a long shot on him, which is good. But I'm happy that we've got the option to buy him at the end of the loan, because he looks a good player, Jota.
Aye. Hart had a few scary spells, but he managed to obviously see them out. There was one with Christian Ramirez.
Yeah.
Christian Ramirez had a strike, and he kind of managed to just put his hand up a bit like when they get the goal. The really good save that he did at Livingston a few weeks back, where he kind of popped up and just got it. Went behind.
I don't know how Celtic fans survived, because Hart, even just watching it, fills me with dread and terror. When you see some of the shots and some of the saves he makes, it's like, oh.
The goal for Aberdeen came from a corner from basically a cross in. The corner was taken into a shot crossed in by Calvin Ramsey, and Lewis Ferguson managed to get a head on it, but I think it hit the back of his head, then went really high, and then kind of obviously just went over the goal line. But Adam Montgomery, who was on the line, couldn't manage to get up for it because it was kind of like an awkward bounce that took off Lewis Ferguson's head and then bounced back in. It was a hard one to take, but obviously.
Yeah, I don't think since Ferguson got called up to the Scotland squad, there's been a lot of people saying he shouldn't actually have been called up.
Aye.
Did you see anything in today's game? Anyone that made you think kind of justified his call up, apart from the goal, which, as Ian said, is a wee tinge of luck to the finish?
Did you watch it fully, Gav?
He should have been called up.
You don't think he should have been called up, James?
No, I think he should have. I think he would be one that I'd like to join Celtic.
Yeah. I think he'd come to Rangers first, but you never know. Scott Allen came to Celtic.
And then Jota goes and scores the winner. Good finish. He looks effective on both wings as well, so it gives us that option and versatility. But yeah, we've got a win away from home with Ange Postecoglou as a manager. Wasn't the prettiest performance, but 3 points on the board. It was important to win that before the international break to at least get out of the rut of not winning games. But when we get back from the international break, that's when Celtic have to kick on if we are going to have a title challenge. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how we play in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah.
So James, we sat here before the start of the season and we were taking kind of predictions for the season, which we're now in. Obviously, you guys sit sixth just now. As you say, 2 wins, and you'll be a bit more cushier. Do you see you guys with the performances you're doing just now? Do you see you challenging for the title?
We're winning the expected goals and expected points league, so yes.
Excellent.
Good
I'm
goal
so glad
difference.
that the season's still won on expected goals. I'm so glad that expected goals.
Do you know that?
Title.
Talking about FIFA's stats have got expected goals in it, by the way, James. So we're going to have that.
I saw that.
If you buy FIFA.
FIFA's progressing. Expected goals is coming into
The stats are mad.
But I mentioned that because despite the chaos, despite the upheaval in the squad, Celtic, by the expected points statistics, have been playing the best football in the league. When we get the defence more solid with the players that come in and get that sense of momentum, Celtic will click. And whilst being few players away from having a squad that's deep enough to rotate and maybe play certain players for certain games, we're going to be there or thereabouts.
So, James, your next match is against Motherwell.
Yep.
Away. And that's a Motherwell who have won their last 3 games at home. The only team to have taken to actually, the only game they've lost at home this season's been against Hibs in a 3-2 goal fest for Scottish football, that is. Unless Celtic are playing at home, clearly. Just to make you happy before you try and correct me. But do you think that Motherwell will cause difficulties to Celtic, especially in another away game? And
yes.
Pittodrie is a hard place to go. I think your stadiums like Pittodrie, Fir Park and McDermott Park are quite tricky stadiums to go to and get a result.
Yes, Motherwell away is always a tough game. They're playing well this season at home, and we're not playing great away, so it is going to be a tough game. But if we win that, then that's 2 wins in a row, Pittodrie and Fir Park. I think you'll be pretty happy as a Celtic fan with that, and it builds a sense of momentum up, and we'll get some players back for that game. So I think be pretty confident.
Good stuff. So we'll go on to the later kickoff, the 3 o'clock kickoff from today at Ibrox, where Rangers bet Hibs another 2-1. But both teams in a different position in the league. That was more of a fight at the top of the table. The Celtic Aberdeen was more a mid-table battle. Unfortunately, we've got 2 Rangers fans with us tonight. As a guest, Ian, we'll start with yourself just now. And what did you think of your team's victory?
It was a good victory, and obviously the result was brilliant. So I thought at first, obviously, we played at first, we're quite sloppy, making errors at times. But again, in the final 30 minutes, we were absolutely playing some great football, passing it back and forth. And then eventually, when we got the second, we were just kind of like taking our time, concentrating and passing it about. Obviously, and the goal for Hibs came in the 8th minute from a cross in from Chris Cadden into the box. Nesbitt kind of like managed to shuffle away from some of the defenders, kind of hanging back, and then had a really sweet header into the right-hand corner of the goal.
It was a good goal, I've got to say.
It was a good header.
James will be sitting watching that going, he's going to be Celtic one day.
And then the moment of the match that changed the game slightly, you could say that, Ryan Porteous with a tackle on Joe Rebo, basically getting sent off in the 30th minute on a tackle on Joe Rebo. He went in with a bit of power to it, and kind of the referee must have saw that his left leg was like high off the ground, kind of like up Joe Rebo's shin. I think Joe Rebo's lucky that it wasn't a further contact, because if it was, it could have been a really bad damage to his leg, even a leg break. But obviously the referee, Nick Walsh, sent him off. And that's when obviously which got Hibs made the change for Scott Allen. They took off Scott Allen and brought on Darren McGregor, obviously the old Rangers player, in the 33rd minute. And then obviously got to the second half, and this is when it was basically just Rangers dominating the match, because obviously Hibs had a man down and basically just sitting in. The 55th minute, Glenn Kamara came off for Kamara Roof, which this is basically a game changer. I think it was really, normally it'd take a wee while for like Steven Gerrard to make changes, but today he went away straight early, obviously 10 minutes into the second half. And then 5 minutes later, Kamara Roof scores a goal with basically a cross into the box. Basically a kind of lob into the box, and Nathan Patterson's assist, and Kamar Roof gets his head in it and kind of directs it into the goal. The goalkeeper never really made an effort to get to it, but I'm not too sure myself if he could have got to it himself. But I think he could have tried to get a hand out, but it just kind of like went in, and it was a great goal. The Hibs players were calling for offside, but it was nowhere near offside when I watched the things back.
In your humble, unbiased opinion.
Yes, I'm unbiased. Sorry,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
unbiased. Hadji had a
and like what James said earlier on.
Hadji had a great shot from the edge of the box, about edge of the 18-yard box, where he struck it on the 73rd minute, and Matt Macy managed to get a hand to it and send it like obviously back for a corner. It was a great strike by Hadji, and then on the 78th minute, Morelos got a goal from a headed goal from a Borna Barisic cross. I think it kind of like bounced just before it hit the line, and it kind of like put Matt Macy off, so it bobbled over the line, hit the post on the other side of the net, and went into the back of the net. It was a great goal, and it's happy to see it go behind, because it was getting really nervy. And then obviously at the end, obviously the full-time whistle goes with Rangers winning 2-1. Massive comeback, because it's a much needed result. We needed that. And then at the end, Steven Gerrard comes on the pitch, and you can see he's fired up. He's got a bit of fire in his belly. He's pure like telling all the fans to come on. I think it's because he notices that there's been a bit of criticism about the team, and people have been a wee bit on top of them and allowing them. And I thought, obviously, they did it the day it came through. What do you think, Bruce?
3 points are 3 points, and you kind of summarised the main points of the game. Then I didn't see the game today, just through other reasons and whatnot. But I managed to spend a bit of time watching some of the highlights on YouTube and stuff. And yeah, as the ball came over for Nisbet, Lundstrom's under the ball, so he's not able to get it as such.
It should really be Balogun and Goldson doing that job, but obviously Lundstrom was in there.
Exactly. I think with the Nisbet goal, obviously the Nisbet goal was a decent header. It was a good enough goal, but I think
perfect.
I think in terms of our back line and stuff, we could have probably set ourselves up to defend it a bit better.
Yeah.
But yeah, good goal. And then there was obviously the challenge from Porteous on Aribo, which has been quite a big talking point today. And I said earlier on that I read a few bits of input from various pundits and stuff around the country, and there's still that debate of was it, wasn't it? But I paused the replay, and from my opinion, when I paused the replay, obviously Porteous has come into pace, his left leg's been a bit high, aiming toward, maybe not aiming towards, but travelling towards Aribo's calf. And if you look at that and on its own, then you would think of that as a red card offence.
Aye. From the stands when he did the tackle, I thought it was just a really good tackle, but then obviously when the card came out, I was like, well, I wasn't expecting it, but
it's always a difficult thing, because these things travel at pace, don't they? You don't get the chance to look at replays and look at replays and look at replays, and it has to be made in the moment,
that's just part of his game, I think. Porteous, he just loves diving in at power, and he saw it in the past where he's been sent off in games.
And in the grand scheme of things, there's nothing wrong with a solid defender who's going to give you 110% out of a tackle that's strong, but it's when that sometimes goes awry, isn't it? And that can lead to a dangerous element of the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was what it was, and Nick Walsh dealt with it in the way that he felt was appropriate given his view of the game. And then what a ball for Nathan Patterson towards Kamar Roof. What a lofted effort into the box. And then again, the ball for Barisic towards Morelos from that left wing was super. So yeah, second half we played a bit more like we expect ourselves to play, but the first half was quite disappointing.
Yeah. I've got a quick question for each of you, if you don't mind. I'm going to go to Ian first of all. So you always said about Steven Gerrard's passion at the end of the game after the victory, and how the fans have been a bit more criticism towards him. Do you think that's because of how, like, if you look at your performance since the start of September, 2-1 win versus St Johnstone, it's arguably St Johnstone should have won that game. Right. Losing in Europe against Lyon, a draw against Motherwell, again, arguably Motherwell could have got the victory there.
Mm.
Then in the League Cup, beating Livingston only 2-0 in against probably one of the weaker sides that we have been this season in Livingston. Then a 1-0 victory against Dundee, who again had opportunities and are bottom of the league, so only a 1-0 victory. And then losing again in Europe. Do you think it's because of the performances in terms of like what James said earlier about Celtic? They're performing poorly, but the stats say that there's a good possibility that they should be scoring more goals. They should be having more points than what they're on. It's just the performances haven't lived up to that. Whereas for Rangers, they're grinding out the results, but the performances haven't necessarily deserved those results and those points. Do you think that's the reason the fans have been a bit more critical of this so far this season?
Yeah, they were never going to be what they were like last season, unbeaten in the league and stuff like that. They were just relentless last season, playing in the word, relentless. And this season they're not ever going to be the same, and we're expecting obviously them to drop in form. But I feel that maybe they just need a bit of kick up the bum. Steven Gerrard's obviously I trust them to do their job, but I feel like times he has been a wee bit nice to them and kind of like allowing. He's not calling for much slack to them, but aye.
James, that was a big side on, mate.
It's just this narrative that Rangers were fantastic last year. Yes, they were unbeaten, but the expected goals, expected points, whatever, and just even looking at games, the ground results out. They didn't play well, particularly for a lot of last season. They got results, yes, but when they say it's been a massive drop in performances from last season, it hasn't. Just a bit of luck's run out, but they've still got it to grind some results out. But there's dropping.
That's what Celtic did that when they were running wild and being good.
I would recommend
Kilmarnock and
I would recommend looking at the expected points of those seasons and compare the two.
He's the stats man.
Bruce, my question for you is obviously with the game today, and without trying to offend James, if I offend James, I don't mean it, but against arguably the toughest opposition that Rangers have faced this season in terms of how well in terms of in form the team is. You could argue Celtic earlier on the season, but they weren't really in form. They were struggling, so that's why I'm saying Hibs are probably the toughest opposition they faced. Grinding out a 2-1 result, a red card, which obviously changed the game, as we said. There's been a lot of debate about whether it was or not. Do you think that this is now something where Rangers should take confidence from and kick on, or do you think it's something like, well, up until it was 10 men, we struggled, so you need to be wary about that, and it might be a negative thing?
So, me personally, as well as, we played with our, the balls efforts coming into the box and everything in the second half today, I really think we need to have a look at that first half performance, because that first half performance, Hibs had 11 men on the park, and we just were not good enough. We just were not good enough up until that moment, at least that Brian Porteous left the field. We were not good enough. And if we want to challenge a possible informed Celtic later on in the season, which I highly doubt, but hey-ho, and we want to have another a look at Hearts later on, and these teams that are doing, bringing in results and aren't sitting far behind us in the league at the moment, then we really need to work out how do we change, like say, the first half today to get the strong performances that we're expecting of the team, in my opinion.
I think for Rangers this season, it's been one good half, one bad half. It's either the first or the second that you have the badge in, and they're only coming out better in the second. Close to the third half, but I feel like this might be a bit that will get them a bit more confidence and kind of give them a push, and hopefully Gerrard's got the fire in his belly like he did at the end of the match. And I think he obviously was just celebrating because it was a big, massive victory, and his players kind of pulled round for him. So hopefully they can start performing better, because that's what we need. And at the end of the match, the second half, they were brilliant. They managed to obviously get back and make the comeback, get the equaliser and then the winner. And the play in the last 30 minutes of the game was brilliant. Some of the passing when Juninho Bacuna came on, and he's quite classy with the ball, kind of passing and stuff like that. Yeah, but I thought it was a good result, and I was happy to get it. I felt at the end, when I was getting really like nervous at the end, that I'm obviously hoping that Hibs didn't get the equaliser to make it 2-2. I was getting really like nervous, and I felt like a Rangers Celtic game at the end. Like it actually felt so. I was like, come on, fucking get this home, and I just wanted it home, and then eventually did. So I was happy. Yes, that's what it felt massive.
To move on to Saturday's games, we'll start off with the one that put Hearts top of the league for the day.
Sorry, who are they?
Hearts.
Oh, right, okay.
The big team in Edinburgh.
Oh, right.
You know, so I'm sitting in second league at the moment, but 2-0 victory over Motherwell, and as we said, Motherwell very good so far this season. A boy's penalty in the 5th minute after getting taken down by Kelly.
Yeah,
nice conversion.
Definite penalty.
It was a nice conversion into the bottom corner. When Stephen Kingsley, another beautiful free kick to make it 2. He seems to be the dead ball specialist for us, and he's since signing him last season, he scored a couple of good free kicks in the Championship last year, and then that one as well as a game against Ross County. That's him scored 2 good free kicks for us.
Where did he come from, Gav? Was that Partick or something like that? I recognise his name. I guess
he was
Kingsley's a Partick mass. Was it Falkirk?
He came through Falkirk's Academy, and he went down to Swansea, I believe, and then to Hull City, and then he was released from Hull City, and we got him on a free contract for a 1 year, and then he decided to stay on for another year because he enjoyed it that much at Tynecastle last season. So I think he's got a 2 year contract. I could be wrong though. Yeah. But then second half, Boyce missing a penalty. Devlin got. Well, it was a good bit of footwork from Banagimi. Ended up losing out on the ball, and Devlin took it on after a little nick from the defender, and then Devlin got kind of a wee forearm into the back and went down. A soft penalty, but you have seen him given before. Then Boyce stepped up. It was a save, good save by Kelly, but the penalty wasn't as good a finish. It was a bit more central. But no, I'm very happy with the performance, and I think that's again, we've had quite a tough opening, I think, for the season. And again, he deserved a goal. There's a moment he had a shot and it was curling effort in, but Kelly made a good save, and Kelly had a good few saves, and even Gordon to keep the clean sheet. There's Tony Watt should have scored. He had an opportunity from 2 yards out and he fluffed it. That was after a corner that was because of a good half volley he took in Tony Watt, and it was tipped to the bar by Gordon. So yeah, some good some good moments, good saves, and that was a good result.
For the free kick goal, there was a kind of error by Liam Kelly just before the ball was struck. It kind of moved to the left of his goal, kind of like in his goal mouth. Moved to the left, and then the ball was struck, and then realised it was going at the top.
That's what I was going to speak to James about. Is obviously
right.
James being a goalkeeper, most goalkeepers always leave a bigger section to one side, and that's normally where they're wanting the ball to go. The wall's covered that bit, so it was Kelly's left hand. He left a bigger gap. And obviously expecting Kingsley to go for there, he took that as Ian said, the wee half step to the left, and then Kingsley curled it into the top right corner.
Yeah.
And I do think that's what it was a case of. I don't know how you've seen the game or the highlights, James, but do you think that's a case of Kingsley saw that and changed his mind of where he was putting it, or
would it have been hard for him to see because of the wall? Maybe
it's anticipation. You're anticipating that it's going to go there. And just with the speed of the ball, you kind of have to anticipate before if you think it's going right in the top corner. And because Kingsley's got a track record of good set pieces, Kelly's obviously made the decision to take the step. And Kingsley, anticipating the step in anticipation, has put it in another corner. And it was good play by Kingsley. And whilst it looks bad, most goalkeepers do it. Just look at the best free kick takers in the world. You see goalkeepers do it all the time. Because if the keeper just stands still and then dives afterwards nowhere near the ball, that's embarrassing in the eyes of the goalkeeping forward. So, yeah, it's a bit of mind games. It's like a mind games of a penalty, which we discussed last week, but slightly different.
Barkas would have saved it. I saw that somebody said that a few weeks back when I was listening to my podcast. A wee joke. I think it was a Tavernier goal at St Johnson. The guy Chris Toll for this Football Daft podcast was like, Barkas would have saved it. Very funny.
It's one of those games that it was there was a lot of positives to take for Hearts, but at the same time, a few wee worries with, as I said, Tony Watt had good opportunities. Gordon again making some good saves, but you come to expect that from Gordon, especially this season. He's shown why he's been recalled into the Scotland squad. But yeah, Hearts now the only undefeated team in the league at the moment. I would have actually enjoyed it if Hibs had managed to get
Just
a draw.
get that wee in there, eh? Get that in there.
No, I would have rather Hibs got a draw, and that way we would have been top of the league. I would have preferred that, yeah. It would have been a nice feeling, just for one weekend. It would be 2 weeks, eh?
Didn't a few seasons ago Hearts go like an unbeaten run in the league? I think, and it didn't turn out very too good for them. I think I don't know if that was when you got relegated.
Hearts normally do this. They start off a season well, and then they hit a slump between mid-October and January/February, and the slump carries on for a while. And so that seems to be how Hearts go.
I was there commentating for that season at Tynecastle, and Craig Levein was getting it no end. He was getting it raw for the Hearts fans, and then suddenly they had this massive spell where they were getting everything, and everyone quieting down about how rubbish Craig Levein was, and nothing was ever said. And then next thing, they ended up doing the bottom.
That been when Kyle Lafferty was there, because I remember Kyle Lafferty obviously scoring a goal against Celtic, and so I think he saluted the Celtic fans. I did it was like a red hand, but I don't know if I can't remember what it is.
He saluted, but because someone paused the TV and took the photo at that point, everyone was saying it was a Nazi salute.
It was a red hand.
There's a lot of controversy around that around that moment. But yeah, I think that's going to be interesting now for Hearts, because next game's Rangers. We need to go there. It's at Ibrox. We need to go there and take the game to them. It's going to be the hardest game we've had this season.
It's a weekend game on the Saturday, the 16th of October.
Yep, I'm looking forward to it, because I think if we can play similar to how we've played against Hibs, and I think a combination of how we played against Hibs and Celtic, because Celtic were obviously a bit more defensive. Hibs, we took the game out a bit more. If we can have a nice wee combination, we could capitalise on Rangers. And I would say how poor they've been and how inconsistent they've been, especially if they have a poor half. We need to capitalise on that. But then looking after that, there should be a run of games that we could get some victories. And I think come the mid-November, after the next international break, the lay of the land in terms of how the league will be interesting. See who can keep up the high performances, especially with teams like Celtic now getting into a game. See if teams like Hearts and Hibs and Motherwell can keep performing and maybe make the title race a bit exciting this season.
Yeah.
But we'll carry on going over the other games briefly. So St Johnstone 3-1 victory against Dundee. 2 goals for Chris Kane, the goal for Stevie May for them. Do we think they'll be climbing back up into the league now? Is that the slump over?
Yeah, from a point of Dundee, definitely they're at bottom with only 3 points out from 8 games. It's not looking too good for them. I don't know if they would sack, was it McPake? But
McPake. To be fair, he's done a good job with them, and I do think they've still got a possibility of they do play some good football. They just need to start finishing their chances.
They did come up via the playoffs last season, so I think they've done brilliant, and I'm happy with that, because Kilmarnock got put out of the league and we don't have to play on another plastic pitch. So
Are you marking the skies?
St Johnstone need a few wins there. I think obviously they've got 2 wins, 3 draws and 3 defeats. So it's not the best start for them, but I'm pretty sure like Callum Davidson, he'll pull them around. He's a good manager. He sets them up well, and
well, they were the most successful domestic team last season. But we'll go away from Dundee.
Winning like 13 matches.
No, they won 2 trophies. They currently have more trophies in their history than Rangers do, Ian. So yeah, moving over to the other side of Dundee, Dundee United 1-0 victory over Ross County. County sitting second bottom, but Dundee United sitting 5th, 1 point above Celtic on a break-even goal difference. James, you've been an admirer of Dundee United so far this season in their defensive performances. Do you think they could hold out and continue to perform and finish in the top half, maybe?
Top half might be too far for them this season, but they've got an exciting manager who looks at football differently. The players seem to have responded to it, which is always a positive, but you never know. He's untested, the manager. It's a thin squad. You see they're playing 16-year-old centre-backs because Charlie McGrew's injured. So it is a very...
Do with him at Celtic.
It's a very young, inexperienced squad. So we'll see. Consistency is a big thing for a club like Dundee United if they want to reach the top 6. I think it will be just past them.
I was kind of pretty surprised at the amount of efforts they did have at Celtic Park. There was definitely, it was kind of like, obviously Celtic had their chances, loads of them, but the numbers on obviously Dundee United side are good as well. I think they're quite good at attacking as well. They've got a few good players that I've noticed. I don't ken their names, but I just noticed there's a few guys that run forward when I'm watching the highlights. Normally, when it does come, not this it's disrespectful, Ian. When it comes to after the Rangers and Celtic games, and maybe the Hibs and Hearts, I'll turn off sports scene.
Shocking.
But today I did it. I turned off after the Hearts game because I wanted to go make some curry and rice for my dinner.
There's only their level in goals conceded with Hearts 5. The two teams the lowest, the best defensive records, if you will. But in terms of attacking, them and Dundee, they scored the same goals as Dundee. The only team to score less is Livy, who have scored 3. And speaking of Livy, they lost 1-0 to St Mirren yesterday. St Mirren climbing up to 7th.
I would have probably predicted St Mirren would win that as well, but they're a good team. They've got a good host of players. St Mirren, they were quite good last season. They did us a few Rangers a few favours last season.
Should have even been in the Premier League last season.
Ethan Erahon getting the goal in the 29th minute, coming here with my stats. Right.
Do we think that Livy are going to start building and survive
I like Big Davy
relegation?
I like Big Davy Martindale. I hope it turns around for him, but at the moment they're sitting 1 point off the bottom, where obviously Ross County and Dundee below him with 3. But right. There's not the season. The one that aren't going to have the same season as they did last season. It's a bit like the Rangers, eh? They had a good performance last season. They were quite unlucky in the semi. They got to 2 semi-finals, the cups. Most successful semi-finalists. Aye. For me, hopefully they'll turn it around because I like David Martindale.
So Ian likes David Martindale.
Aye, he's a class
guy.
guy.
A few times there. We'll go on from the Scottish football. That's kind of everything there's talk about in the Premier.
Let's go to England,
the Scottish Premiership. But we'll go over to James, and James, you're going to give us a run through of the English leagues.
Yes. So quite an action-packed weekend in the English Premier League. I'll go through the scores quickly, so people who don't know them